Where did the 5 races come from? That's a really good question. Everybody should be asking that. Where did the 5 races come from? Why do they look so different? How could they have survived so long looking so different? You'd think they'd intermix by now, right? Well, number one, I think they were able to be different races for so long because people just did not accept other people coming into their land for that long. And then once they did, it was only for the purpose of trading. And they just didn't want to have anything to do with other races beyond that. Which is fine. It teaches people solidarity and teamwork and stuff, team A against team B, whoever is and organizes and can work as a group better wins, and maybe they do have the right to go out and show their ways to the more primitive people around them. But so where do the five races come from? Well, I just read a book by Edgar Cayce, or written about Edgar Cayce. And Edgar Cayce says that 5 races started 50,000 years ago. Before that, we actually were one world with technology, one race, one language. We flew all around the earth in planes and boats, and it was kind of like the world is now, and it was like that for a long time. I think he said 150,000 years or something like that. And there was a central area, kind of like the Roman Empire started in Rome and grew out. It started in Lemuria, which was lots of islands out in the Pacific, or maybe one big island, like Hawaii or something. I don't know exactly where it was. And then they moved over to Atlantis, which is a big island, which is where the Bahamas are, and all those islands in the Caribbean were actually one island before that. And they had a war, and they had a nuclear war. And I don't know, maybe that's the war that was told about in the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita. So they had a war, and they all basically the earth was downgraded. We weren't ready to have one civilization. The souls who have been reincarnated on this earth just weren't ready for that. We got too cavemanish. We got too selfish. So we had to. So then after that, there was a spontaneous mutation in all the different races. I don't know how that spontaneous mutation happened, but they all kind of caused the same time. I think the sun came in a certain angle with the earth. It shot a certain energy into the earth, changed our DNA, and we all became mutants, kind of like X-Men. And then all the races sparked out. I think all the base races are equal. I don't think white people are better than black people genetically. But I don't know. I kind of think maybe different races over the years develop certain traits, certain strengths. Because all the people, most of like rocket scientists and all this are white. Maybe that's genetic. I don't really think about it that much. Black people like to rhyme. Maybe it's genetic. I don't even think we're ready to start talking about that yet. But anyway, that happened for a long time, and then I think aliens came down here and tried to help each race in various different ways, and kind of like a game, kind of like it's an experiment, which I think is normal. And so for 50,000 years that happened, and those were the 5 races came from. I don't think I'll talk any more about that though. I think that's enough for now. Well, actually I have the time. The future of the 5 races. What will happen to the future of the 5 races? I think we're coming into a new time. Well, this is kind of what New Agers say. A new energy is coming blasted towards the earth, kind of like with the what are they called? The Fantastic Four. Only it's the Fantastic 6 billion. We get shot by this radiation. We all become mutants in our own different way, and I think new races will be created from the mutations and from different races mixing together, and we'll eventually have another world race just like we did before, and one world tongue just like before. Only this time we'll be successful. The Hopi Indians and I think all of the primitive tribes and that haven't changed their story since since it was handed down to them. All believe that the world has gone through 4 stages and has 4 cataclysms, and so we've come to a world stage 4 times, and this is the 4th time. But this time we'll be successful, so we'll actually get to maintain our civilization this time. But we're going to have new races, and also other races that lived here before that have gone. I think the aliens are going to come back, but that's another story. That's another subject. I think I've been rambling on too long. So that's where the 5 races came from, 50,000 years ago. Mutation, because it doesn't make sense to me. Well, that's really the only argument I've heard of. I'd love to hear some new reasons, but it doesn't really make sense that that it, like Darwinian, like over a long period of time, based on the environment, would cause the races to look like that. It makes sense that people way up in the northern hemisphere would have lighter skin than people down near the equator. But how do you explain the slanty eyes of the Chinese people as opposed to round eyes of white people, and big noses of black people, and all that? That doesn't have anything to do with where you live. So I think it goes beyond that. I think it actually has something else to do with an actual mutation that happens that I think is guided. I believe in intelligent design. I think there's a purpose behind it. I think some planets the black people would take over, and other planets, the yellow ones would, and it just happened that this planet, it was the white ones that did, due to reasons that we'll probably figure out if we argue with each other enough. The person who wins the argument will probably have a pretty good argument, and it'd probably be some kind of geographical thing. So that's my 2 cents. If anybody else has another idea, I'd love to hear it.